Innovation builds a nation, and over the last few years, India has seen a massive growth in innovation thanks to technology. Today on Amrita Vishwa Vidyapeetham presents Future of India Conclave, partnered by Times Now. I have a panel of experts with me who will discuss how innovation and technology have led to the unleashing of India's indigenous potential. Allow me to introduce my panelists. First up, we have Chet Kondragunta, the CEO of Ira Matrix, Ashish Anantharaman, the CTO at ZestMoney, Arjun Mohan, CEO at Upgrad, and Dr. Gopalakrishnan EA, Assistant Professor, Center for Computational Engineering and Networking, Amrita School of Engineering, Coimbatore campus. Gentlemen, thank you so much for joining me here today. First question to you. How is R&D at the heart of India's Atmanirbhar Bharat vision and the essence to an emerging new age economy in today's world?
R&D is pretty much at the heart of every innovation, and at the heart of every great product is hardcore innovation. So that's it's pretty much a no-brainer in terms of saying that there's an emphasis on R&D in the new age or the new economy. In fact, I would say R&D is pretty much the new capital investment, right, across a bunch of companies. So that's pretty much what is our mantra as well, and in terms of the investment in R&D and the drive towards good products by investing in R&D. And we happen to be in an area where we are trying to create new products that don't exist, and that pretty much means we need to be ready to make mistakes, and the only way you can do that is by investing in good R&D.
Arjun, just first up, I wanted to get your thoughts on the reshaping of technological priorities in the digitized world of today, especially under the pandemic. How has it brought about so much change? Just your opinion, your view on that.
Technology was always reshaping our world, but yeah, with pandemic coming in, too many changes which people refuse to accept, although it was showing a large improvement, has become more acceptable. The kind of problems technology had to solve pre-pandemic and post-pandemic or during the pandemic has been a lot different. One example is the whole scale of it, right? I mean, we never imagined that thousands of our employees will be working remotely all of a sudden. Suddenly, there was a necessity for every application to be on cloud. The organizations which could pivot and get efficiency immediately when this work from home started are the organization which had invested in cloud technology, right? Suddenly you had so much of data available that you finally were in a situation where you could get insights about your customers and make the right decision. Yeah. So data science or the machine learning based algorithms became very important. It's a very different world we have been living in last one and a half years. And we are thanks to technology that we have been able to sort these problems out at a very high pace.
Dr. Gopalakrishnan, in your opinion, why do you think it's imperative to establish India's indigenous potential in different sectors, health, agri-tech, IT, communication, and nanotechnologies? Why is it important to establish India's potential there?
I think it is all the more important now because if we see each of the sectors that you named, take for example medicine or healthcare, now the amount of the imports that we have and then how much dollars that we are spending on each technology related to medicine or healthcare. So we are hugely dependent on Europe or US for equipments, first of all. That is, we do not have indigenous technologies to counter that, or we do not have any indigenous technologies to provide such solution. Technology has not penetrated to the level that we need. That is one point. Another point is we want to develop our own technology because we cannot be dependent anymore on outside technology. And apart from this, a very big issue is, like we often say that we are a country, we missed the industrial revolution because of socio-political reasons. Another revolution that we are almost missing is an AI revolution. So what is going to happen is many experts are predicting a digital colonization or a digital imperialism, so which we are not prepared to face. So because of all these reasons, especially regarding communication, because you know that all our communication channels now we are heavily dependent on others, so it's not safe. Yeah. So I think starting from medicine up to smart materials, we need to invest in heavily in R&D. And again, because of the pandemic, it has now become very visible to us.
Absolutely. And I'll take your point ahead to Ashish. Now, Ashish, you're very much in the thick of indigenous innovation in India in the fintech space. It's one of the most vibrant spaces that we're seeing. Your thoughts that, with India's goals of total financial inclusion and independence for citizens, how are innovations in digital payments through, for example, UPI, aiding India's entrepreneurial dreams?
I think the start that we have had towards a digital India has been remarkable. I think the last 7 years has been phenomenal in terms of the pace at which India has revolutionized itself in the digital space. And with that digital space as a platform, there has been a lot of opportunities and a lot of framework which has been built on top of it, which has enabled, all the advantages that we are seeing today, whether it is in the form of an UPI, whereby, monies can be transferred from, with a click or two between your bank accounts. Payments can be made by just using the scanner on your mobile phone, and so on and so forth. Now, if you compare this kind of a framework and this kind of a underlying platform that India has built, compare it with those that exist in the West, I think we are quite advanced in that matter, I would say, because I speak to quite a few counterparts across the Americas and around Europe, and in the speed and the ease at which we complete our transaction and the scale at which we do it is phenomenal. I don't think the scale at which we kind of operate can be replicated, or it has been even attempted in any other countries, right? Just from a payment perspective. So I think the progress that we have shown, that is very important for us to kind of sustain that and to grow that further. And what it is said that is, this is just the tip of the iceberg for us. There are a lot more that we can do. That's where innovation comes into play. And I think all entrepreneurs, indigenously grown companies have got a great opportunity in hand to take this further to the next level. Okay. Now that's one side of it. So under these rails, we are going to be like building, multiple engines under it. So credit is another such engine, where enabling credit to the common man has become so important these days that using the credit just like a payment is being made is where we are going to get towards, and that's where companies like ourselves, like ZestMoney, come into play.
On that note, it's time for a very short break here on Amrita Vishwa Vidyapeetham presents Future of India Conclave, partnered by Times Now. Don't go anywhere. We'll be right back. Welcome back to Amrita Vishwa Vidyapeetham presents Future of India Conclave, partnered by Times Now. Today, the panel of experts is discussing how innovation and technology have led to the unleashing of India's indigenous potential. Chet, what are the key challenges faced while implementation of policy, especially when it comes to data, ethics, and regulatory frameworks machinery?
At an individual level for us as an organization, these things don't matter too much because we are developing AI-based algorithms for medical diagnostics and that kind of thing. And every piece of data that we handle is de-identified and redacted and those type of things because that comes to us. But then we operate in an ecosystem, where the originator of data is a hospital, end of the day, right? They have incredible challenges in terms of, patient rights with respect to the data and those type of things. And patients themselves or people themselves have, legitimate questions in terms of, hey, what is happening to my data, and who owns that, or what are the rights that each party has in these kind of things. And that has... these are unanswered questions, which let's say compared to the banking and payment side of things, has been a hurdle in the medical side of things, or in the healthcare record side of things. India today does not really even have a patient privacy act per se. We are either governed at this point through the sort of sensitive data kind of act that's part of the IT Act, or now there are initiatives to try and get personal data protection, or DISHA, Digital Information in Security in the Healthcare Act. Those have been coming about, and these are ambitious programs, and hopefully they will roll out, and hopefully there will be enough safeguards, in these kind of things from an individual patient level. What is needed is carving out this kind of de-identified data that could come to companies like us, that can work, and at least foster that innovation in R&D.
Dr. Gopalakrishnan, how as an educational institute are you developing the future workforce, enabling the technological research and innovation to promote compassion-based research and learning among students?
Center pillar for our compassion-driven research for Amrita comes from our chancellor, like Srimata Amrita Anantharaman Devi, whom we call as Amma. So she has often very clearly, emphatically told that nowadays we focus on publishing high impact journals, we focus on creating products, but we are not so much like into translational research, like how much of the technology is getting translated to the society and how the last man in the society is getting help from whatever I am doing. Because if you see all over the universities, all over the world or even in India, there is a huge increase in ML, AI based technology, especially related to healthcare, related to finance and all that fields. But how this is being translated to the last man? Like, am I doing something to him? So my center point should be that, and I should start from what is required for my country, what is required for my society, and then from there I should start. That is one point. Now, how do you integrate it to your curriculum? That is what we do in Amrita is, in almost all board of studies, we have industry members. So beginning from the curriculum, you have inputs from the industry. And another important aspect is you need to revise your pedagogy and you need to revise your assessment methods, because if you are going to follow a very classical pedagogy and a classical assessment method where you are writing pen and paper based exams, you cannot expect your students to do any innovation at the end of fourth year. No magic is going to happen. So you need to have project based learning, you need to have project based assessment, experiential learning. So from there it comes. And we do have business incubators, and we do have one of the flagship programs of the university called as Living Labs, where the university students go to a village and they stay there, they understand the needs of the village and they implement it, and it has already been implemented.
Arjun, there is a need for a paradigm shift in India's education sector to fuel the country's self-reliant goals. Can you help us understand the importance of how the country's students need to be future ready?
To be self-reliant, the Atmanirbhar concept, we have to have top-end talent. If the top-end talent is thinking about going out and acquiring it, the idea is they will stay there only. There is no coming back after that. So, see, although a lot of negativities have happened due to the pandemic, one good part which, in my opinion, has happened is it has made learning anywhere and everywhere a center theme of an individual's well-being today. Slowly, there is a culture of investing in oneself for self-development happening. It's more for survival. And when you do things for survival, you understand that, okay, this is possible for me. That, in my view, has been one positive aspect. There is a certain level of self-confidence in this nation today, especially in the youth, where they believe that I can really do well sitting here. I don't really need to do a lot of things which conventionally has been always happening. What I feel we should do is keep on supporting that thought process. Right? I mean, today's examples, the models which the youth follows are to a large extent the startup founders. So I think there's a certain level of self-confidence in the nation today, and all we need to do is keep on boosting the same. I have a lot of hope on the new education policy because it is, in my view, truly remarkable. And if implemented right, this can take an organization, a country like India to a different level.
Ashish, with technology playing such an important role, what happens is the whole sector is painted with the same brush. So whether it's artificial intelligence, machine learning, robotics, big data, it all comes under the bigger name of technology. In your experience of working with ZestMoney and earlier as well in your career, what are some good examples and some bad examples of how technology has been used that you feel that, this shouldn't have been done?
AI is a very casual term these days, right? Everybody uses it. So it needs to be looked at through a different lens altogether, which is to be very honest with yourself and identify the use cases where AI especially needs to be used. Okay. Now, one thing, again, it's very important to understand, and this comes through experience, which is any problem can be solved in multiple ways. AI is one such instrument or a channel through which you can solve the problem. Things can be done in a much simpler way as well. But again, we have been so obsessed with the word AI that we try to solve everything and use AI everywhere. That is what we need to kind of change. It's about using the right technology to solve the right problems. Sometimes AI gets mistaken for automation. Okay, and automation is not necessarily doesn't need to be AI in itself. We use AI very effectively is to improve the customer's user experience. Now, classic KYC model is about somebody going to one of those shops and doing a KYC by taking a photo of yourself and then taking multiple shots of the photographs and providing with a photocopy of your PAN, of your Aadhaar, whatever it is, and then for you to follow some process. Now, when you're going to bring this whole thing online, that's where the experience changes.
In your opinion, how can industry and government come together to sponsor students and educational programs towards R&D innovations, at par with countries like what America does? Because at the end of the day, we do want to propel this indigenous potential of the country.
Answer for this question lies on three aspects. One, I will say humility, second one is trust, and third one is patience. So with due respect to all industrial experts here, I will say that especially in the areas of emerging technology, academia, industry, and both are equally ignorant or both are equally knowledgeable. You can see it in both the spectrum, both ends of the spectrum. So first of all, we need to be ready to share everything, and we need to assume the position that we want to learn. Why I say trust? Because each partner should be ready to share the resources, right? The universities or the institutes should share the human resource or the semi-skilled or skilled professionals, and the industry should share their resources. You need to have a long-term relationship. You cannot achieve anything just by one fellowship, one internship. No magic is going to happen. So if you see the West, they have very long-term relationship, and one of the glaring examples now in the pandemic, what we see is the Oxford-AstraZeneca combination. That is everybody in the world talks about it. Yeah. So now we can have such a partnership. It's very much possible because there are a lot of industry partners coming up who are very open-minded, and there are a lot of institutes which are open-minded, and our NEP is going to give us a lot of opportunity because it is insisting that there should be this kind of a collaboration.
Arjun, coming to you.
If we want to surge ahead at the pace we are going, we need to get together and we need to do it together. We will have to bring everything we have got together. Collaboration between academia and industry is very important. Very, very important in my view, because today I don't really think that we even have the capability to produce the kind of high-tech resources alone. We have to work together on that. The playing field is level today. All the infrastructure issues which we never had suddenly has disappeared. And if we are able to take advantage of this situation by creating those best tech products, by getting into the industry with the latest ML researchers, we will be able to make a huge impact of it.
Ashish, again, you're in a sector that is really vibrant, that is seeing so much innovation and so much development. I mean, it's not, you can't even say next week, next month, it's happening every few days. Your last closing comments on the thought of this potential in your space?
Sure, I think it's a great opportunity, which I said earlier. We in India, the Indians, we have a massive challenge ahead of us because we have a great opportunity ahead of us. That's number one. Number two, I think it's a responsibility of every industry in India to kind of come up with its own way of contributing something to the country. It is important that you use technology, but then how do you kind of take it to the last person who is going to be benefited by that, right? So I think that's where it's very important that each industry comes with its own ways. I think from our industry, I would say that bringing in the angle of security and making it very important, and sharing that knowledge to other segments of India, to other industries within India, I think is going to be very useful, because that, I would say, is going to be the fintech contribution towards building the great nation for the challenges that lies ahead of us. So I would say security is one thing which we need to come up together collaboratively, all the fintechs, and come up with some kind of a framework where security happens at the start and not as an afterthought. And I think if that is a practice that we in India, or any entrepreneur, any company follows, then the points of cyber attacks and everything will be days of the past. Of course, it cannot be eliminated, but we as a nation can be much more better geared up for any such attacks in isolation. And of course, it will just bubble up at a country level, and we might get much more efficient in handling such situation, is what I would say.
Chet, as I come to you and as we close the panel, another important point, what I would say, is collaboration, cooperation, not just in India, but, across the globe, across borders, and especially in the med tech field. That is really important. We've seen that happen recently in the pandemic itself. Your last thoughts as you leave this panel, just the way ahead that you're seeing it develop in India.
Yeah, I mean, from a personal perspective, this sort of international cooperation is something that we're direct beneficiaries of right now, in the sense that we developed a prostate cancer product, which was essentially a proof of concept a couple of years back, but the reception has been extraordinary, not just in the circles in India, but also in Europe and the US and those sort of areas, to the point where we have a really good group of collaborators, all working towards a pretty ambitious program in prostate cancer. So that goes to that whole spirit of cooperation and people willing to roll up their sleeves, standing next to you to work on something innovative. So that's the first point I'd like to make. The second point is, in terms of the sort of collaboration within the country. I mean, worldwide we are seeing this notion of forming federations or federated learning kind of things, which to some extent at the end it de-risks some of the ways in which AI solutions can get developed. And I think both the other industry panelists have been talking about it in some sense, in terms of the cooperation, in terms of sharing of those kind of things. That I agree with, and to the extent that the government is, with the new policies is coming through, this could even become a pan-industry type of thing, where you're not just looking at some sort of federation within your industry sector, but perhaps sharing of best practices and organically being able to have ideas flow back and forth across different sectors.
That's all the time that we have today on Amrita Vishwa Vidyapeetham presents Future of India Conclave, partnered by Times Now. Thank you so much for watching.